Hello there and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 3rd of October 2017. My apologies for not getting these done over the past couple of weeks. I've been super busy writing software and kind of generally making sure that everything is going okay on the software development side. But a lot has been going on at Pipnotic. We've been doing a lot of really exciting stuff in algorithmic trading to confirm a lot of what you've seen on the discretionary tools, such as this supply and demand tool. And I'm going to show a little bit of that now. I'm not sure if all of you have seen this, but I did a talk at FX Street last week, and I've posted it here on the weekly symposium. So here you can see this talk, Pipnotic Symposium, Automated Supply and Demand Trading. This was for FX Street last week, and it's pretty interesting because I've written an automated kind of an algorithmic trader that trades the exact same stuff that we see when we look at the supply and demand software, and it's going pretty good, actually very, very good. And so I just wanted to kind of air my ideas, and I posted this here, so you're getting the same talk here that I did at FX Street, and it's a really good one. It's about an hour long, and I go into a lot of detail as to why it's doing what it's doing, and we have a look at a lot of the trades and some other stuff. So it's a super interesting presentation, and so I hope you'll take the time to have a look at that, because I think this will help give you confidence to take these trades, because well, this robot is not emotionally involved in the trades. It sees a level objectively and it opens trade, and so it's a really nice way to confirm that we have a decent area of supply and demand setting up. And so I highly recommend that you check this one out. And also, some of you may have realized that there were a lot of issues with the website. There's something really weird and fishy was going on. So when you'd click on the members section here, for example, you would get redirected to the blog, which was not, of course, what you wanted to happen. So I've managed to fix this. But if this happens again in the future, please let me know, and I'll be sure to fix it, because something a little bit weird is going on there. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was able to get the product key this month, because I know a lot of people had some troubles with that. And so if you have any issues about it, don't sit and try and figure out what it is. Just write to me and I'll fix it for you, because it's a pain not being able to get the product key or not being able to do what you want to do or get in and download the new software. So please give that a shot, and I think that that'll be super. Also, if we go to my account, I've added one more download. I'm not sure if it's not on there. Let me log on to another account. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, so if you log on and then you go to my account here, then there's, of course, the downloads. If you click on the downloads, you'll notice that there's an extra one here, and this is the Pipnotic intra-candles indicator. And I just want to show you what this is and why it's useful. So my main motivation for writing this was simply due to the notion of the bigger picture. So when I say the bigger picture, what do I mean? Well, I mean that it would be really nice to be able to see what's going on the greater periods without having necessarily to be there. So I'll just throw this on there, that indicator. We have multi-candles, production. We'll put it on there. It's going to leave it on. It's default behavior, so it looks like this. I'm just going to, quick fingers. I'm going to remove the supply and demand software just so we can focus on this. I'm going to have a look at the configuration options here just to show you what it is. So it's very simple, and all it's doing, it's overlaying greater period candles onto the chart that you can currently see. And so currently, greater period multiplier, if we put this to 1, for example, we can see that this is going to show us daily candles. And so this is interesting, because if we have a look and we see that we see a nice pattern on for example, a daily chart, whilst being on the 4-hour chart, when we know we have a pretty interesting area. And this is pretty good, this one here, as you can see, where price rallied, we had a small body, an accumulation candle, and then price left. And this is where price reacted. Also, we had this area just here that was also located at the same area. So this area of 4-hour accumulation occurred at the open of this daily candle. And so this just gives us a lot of confidence in taking these levels, because yes, selling here, we'll be selling 4-hour supply, and this will overlap nicely with the open of the new day and a 4-hour period of accumulation with a very, very long wick to the upside. So this is just a really good way to visualize this stuff. And you'll notice that if you put all the stuff on the chart at once, it's going to get awfully cluttered. So I recommend that you kind of do this a little bit carefully. And so what I've actually what you can do is you can simply put this on, for example, 2. So you go to greater period multiply and you put it on 2 like this, and then you find your entries on, for example, the 1 hour, the 4-hour chart, and then you can find these really nice areas of which to trade. And they're not going to be on every pair, of course, but what you want to see is you want to see things like, and if you look at this, we'll just zoom out, you can see that there's a lot of kind of sideways price movement on the daily chart. So this is what it looks like on the daily chart. So price is drifting low. There's no supply here on the daily chart, but you can see that we have something occurring here. Our price rallied, we accumulated, and then we sold off. So there's something up in here, which tells us that price will likely react somewhere here on the approach of this. If we try to find another example that's perhaps a little bit better, here we have another one where we have a price rallied, we accumulated for 1, 2, 3 days, then price rallied, and now it's holding above. So that tells us that on the daily chart we have some accumulation going on somewhere down here. So if we were to draw that, we would draw it. We take let's take the lowest one. So we'll take from here to here. This is what this area of demand would look like on the daily chart. So if we go to the daily chart, you can see exactly that. How we had those 4 candles, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the lowest one that we looked at. So you can see that this is the area of accumulation for that chart. And we go like that, and you can see that, I mean, an entry would be just here. And so you're seeing the exact same thing on the smaller time frames as you would on the larger time frame. So I just think this is really powerful if you're looking for nice areas to overlap with opens and closes and accumulation on the greater period charts. I'm finding it to be very useful. Here we have another one which I like, how this is on these are monthly candles. Price sold off, we had a price imbalance, we accumulated, then we sold off, and this period of accumulation occurred at the open of this month, the close of this month. So I'm thinking that price is probably going to react here once it gets up there. You can see how price has sold off. Now we move sideways for this month. We look pretty sideways for this month here. And so we had 2 periods of accumulation. So I'm thinking price will go higher, poke into this area here, and then continue lower, because we have very bearish price movement on the monthly chart. So I like that very much. And so anyway, check it out and see if it's useful. It's a super simple tool. If it clutters your chart, just put it on the chart by itself, or do something like this, where you go like that, and you simply go like this, where you attach it to the chart, and you just make it very simple. You do it like that, and you can just see that it's pretty clear. So here we have an area of supply here. Here we have some micro supply here. We'll probably see that if we go down to the 4-hour chart, and you can see right here. Here it is. So we have a sell-off, accumulation, and then a sell-off, and this occurs right at the close of this week and the open of this week, or the close of this month and the open of this month. So this is a really useful tool. So try it out. I think you'll like it. I'm really enjoying it. Here's a really good example. Price accumulated, it sold off, it accumulated, and it shot up higher, and price tested this is the close of this weekly candle to the pip, which happened to overlap nicely with this 4-hour demand. Then price shot up like a rocket. So another really good example. Check it out. I think you'll really like it. Okay, so that's that. I just want to run over a few charts and have a closer look at some potential areas, and we'll of course reiterate some of the theory that we're looking at. So a quick rundown. Assuming that we want to trade in line with the daily chart, when you're going on the daily chart here, then you're going to ask yourself the question, what's price doing? You can see price is actually looking pretty sideways. And if you consider why it's sideways, if you look for those nice clear swings, you can see that we have one here, a high, a low, low, high, and a low. And this is broken. This trend line is broken. So if we go like that, and we don't really have any clear swings here, but price has indeed moved above this. But you could consider this to be kind of an insignificant or a lower significance low. So this would of course bring your attention to the fact that maybe we're in a very strong uptrend for the shorter term. When I look at this, I just think that price is rebalancing, it's returning to this area just up here. And so knowing that on the daily chart price is looking pretty sideways, we can just simply mark off the areas that we're interested in. I'm still looking to buy down here. Price has not returned there yet. You can see that we're struggling to move below this and above this one here. So we have a couple of areas here, and I'm going to mark these off like that. This is a daily area. Let's make sure that it's red. Good. So we have this supply and this demand here. So what does that mean? Well, that means that once price comes close to this and we get market flow, or the trend starts to change on the smaller time frame, then start to buy and ensure that you're out before price gets to the other side of this range, because we do have a range for the near term. So if we have a kind of a look at it, we can go from here to here. I don't use this tool a lot, but I'm just doing it so that we can visualize what it looks like. Bright color, maybe a bit thicker, so we can see that it looks like this. It looks pretty close to that, as you can see. We're kind of wriggling lower here, and so it looks like we have a supply that's holding, because price is we're forming these kind of lower major lows. We have this one here, which is interesting. Actually, let's see, make sure that's true. Yeah, that's right, it's right there. And so we had this one, price went here, went to the other side of the channel, came back, went close, went back, went away, and now we're approaching this area here. So I'm expecting price to maybe have a bit of a test up in this area here and continue down to this one here, which is a really nice area of demand that I would expect to hold price, to support price for the short to medium term. And if we look at this for a second, you can see that this is not supply. This is a reaction to supply, and the supply is here. So price came close to it. We got a little bit closer, but price has not been back up to this area here. So if we look at this for a second, we could consider, let me delete that. It's going to put this area on properly. Make sure we've got it covered. Like that. And you can see here that that might be a pretty interesting trade to consider. So I'm just going to put that one on, then we're going to leave that. So the 114.71, 114.71, and stop at the 115.51. Oops, what happened there? Something happened. 114. So now we'll just kind of click into that. We'll watch, see what happens. So we've got this. We'll leave it like that for the time being. But this is kind of what we're looking at. I mean, this is a pretty decent area. Price has not been all the way back there, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So if we put it so 1 to 1, 1 to 2, and then we'll see if if that trade stays. We'll see what price does once it gets down, if it manages to hold. But you can see that we don't really have any demand in here. We have a little bit down in here, and of course we have this down here. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. That's a pretty interesting price structure there. And if you see here, I mean, this is very clear. You can see the price is kind of testing this weekly supply once, twice, a little bit deeper, and so we're getting deeper into the area, which brings us up to this to the highs of this area of supply here. Yeah, so that's what we have there. We have a couple of other interesting things on the Aussie CAD. We have some really nice areas. I like this one here. You go on the daily chart and see what's going on here. You can see the price is wriggling higher, but we're in a sideways market here. How prices made a high, a low, a high, and now we're waiting for price to figure out what it's going to do. So we need to come below this low for the trend to change to a downtrend. But we have this nice area of demand here, which got pretty close to being tested. We got close to it. We got a little bit closer. So I'm expecting the price will maybe have a bit of a bounce once it comes around here. Let's see where this is. Close to the 7,500 area. So that's pretty interesting. And we have the euro yen. And the euro yen is reacting to the highs here. We had this area of supply, price left. We came up pretty close to we came back and we tested the edge of this area of supply. This is not great supply, by the way, but it's a release. I mean, this is supply. This is kind of a test. This is a test of the child, and this is a test of the lows of this child. And then price left, and so you can see that price managed to get to around the high of this one here, or pretty close to it, and that's what we're currently contending with at the moment. But if you go to the smaller time frame, you can see that we actually have a pretty nice release at that area. How price came up, and we sold off very quickly. And since then, we've had a pretty nice area of both daily and 4-hour supply that's been formed. And when price left here, it gapped down, which is great. And on the 4-hour chart, you can see that we had kind of price messing around for a while there. Then we happen to have a nice sell-off away there. Note that price has been back to these highs, so the stop wants to go above that. I mean, you could do this, but it's I'd prefer to have the stop above the high just up here, so I'll do that. And now price is kind of wriggling. It's having a tough time moving high, as you can see. So we have a lot of white candles moving higher, which is a sign that price is the thick liquidity is to the upside, and the thin liquidity is clearly to the downside here. So I'm expecting price to maybe wriggle up into this little area, rebalance this price inefficiency, and then continue lower to maybe gnaw away at the last bit of liquidity here, and potentially back down to this area here that's already been tested one time. If we have a look on the larger time frame, you can see that we are in a very strong trend to the upside. On the weekly chart, we're doing the same, and so we do have a pretty nice area of demand here. You might want to go a little bit deeper into this area because there's a lot of trading in the area here. Then we have this one down here, which is lovely because price gapped up and away. And so these two are pretty interesting, but I think for the shorter term we could certainly look to sell some shorter term positions just up here. And of course we have this one up here, which I really like. And so if we mark off this whole area from here to here, this is at the top, which I really like, and I think following price down from around the 14500 area would be a pretty interesting trade, because this would enable us to get price back down to parity, which is down here towards here. You see price has already been back to here, so we can expect price to come at least down to this level if it finds sufficient supply up here. That said, looking left, we have a really nice release, and this is actually a test at the very bottom edge of this supply, the sell zone starting here at the wicks. Price had a very strong reaction, so if we manage to crawl up here towards these highs, then I think we could see some sellers enter the market and continue to move lower from there. Okay, good. So, okay, what else do we have? We have, before I continue, there was a gentleman who sent me an email a while ago with some trades that they wanted me to go over, and I've been looking for the email and I simply can't find it, and I really apologize for not getting back to you. I've looked for it, but it seemed to have disappeared on me. I'm still getting used to Microsoft Exchange, the whole Office 365. So if you're watching this and you hear this, please resend that email and then I'll get back to you. And I really apologize for my delay. It's really not on purpose. I just haven't been able to find that email. But as soon as you find it, forward that once again, and I'll have a look at that for you once and for all. Okay, good. Okay, so what else do we have? Well, we have an awful lot going on all over the place, as you can see. Let's clear this up. We have some pretty nice areas on most of the pairs at the moment. Let me find something that's, where's the Aussie dollar? No, let me find the Aussie dollar here. This is the pair that's interesting for many people. We have a look. What are we doing? Well, we're currently kind of in a bit of a sideways market. How we have price forming higher highs and lower lows, which is not so good. It's a little bit confusing. But if you look on the weekly chart, you can see that we're in a pretty clear uptrend, but we're having a kind of an extended pullback. So we have this really nice area here, which I really like, which I'll be looking to sell once price gets back up there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put that on now. I'm going to let the Algo Trader do that for me. So I have to start 122. Let's see if it finds it. Yeah, so we have that. So now I'll put this one on. Okay, so this one has been opened right here at the top. Looks pretty interesting. If we have a look in here, maybe we could slide our entry a little bit further up, but I think that we'll just leave this. It's not like a big target, not very ambitious. So if we have maybe a poke up into this area here, like, or maybe a first attempt, second attempt, and the third, maybe we'll manage to get a bit of a bounce. We also have this nice area up here, which is probably a bit clear on the weekly. Yes, it is. And you can see that we have this really nice continuation pattern here. This is a really small one, actually, considering the fact that we're on the weekly chart. If we look at the size of this, sorry, the monthly chart, so we're 170 pips on the monthly chart. This would be a really nice long-term trade to hold. If we have a look at the swap for the Aussie US dollar, we move this over. Swap short. So we're going to pay a bit of a carry on that. Swap long, you get awarded some interest, but not a lot. It's not a lot. That certainly wouldn't keep me out of this one. That's just a really nice trade here. So you could put that on and leave it and hold it for a while. I think that's a pretty interesting trade there. So that'd be pretty interesting to look at, I think. If we have a look at this one here, you can see we've had some pretty interesting trades on the dollar Swissy. You can see here, I mean, price is wriggling higher. We have this area of demand here. Price rallied, accumulated, rallied. This is pretty close to this. You could call this the child and this the parent. Price went through the child, went to the parent, and then price has just been crawling higher since then. And we're really in a hurry to move higher because we only managed to come back to the highs. So this shows a lot of commitment to the upside. We had this very short period of accumulation, 3 periods, nice release. Price came back and tested it, and it's left from there. So this is a really interesting trade just in here. We have a look on the longer term, what's going on. We can see that, I mean, price has already been back to these levels here. We've been back to as far as this level here. So ideally, yeah, you can see this is where it tested to the pip, the 98.87. So ideally, you want to go to the smaller time frames and find those areas above this area. You can see we have a couple here, and so these might be nice to look at. We can actually mark these off. Mark this one off here. We'll mark the one above it off. And we'll have a look on the smaller time frame and see what they look like. On the hourly chart, we scroll back and look, and we'll see if we can pinpoint those. You can see they look like this. We had a pretty nice release here. Quite a lot of trading here, which isn't so grand. This one is perhaps a little bit better, how price kind of came from around here. So price kind of dropped, we accumulated, and then we move lower. In this area of supply, kind of munched through this. We had a nice strong area here, and this one took it out here. So I think that we'll probably get some reactions up here. Also, we had this price, it's been tested, and so price has already been back to the highs of this area here. So ideally, we want to focus on the most recent price imbalance. And if we look at this little tiny fella here, we can mark that off. And so this is pretty close. If we have a look just on the other side of this area of supply, So I think that looks pretty interesting, and I think if price manages to come above here, then I think we're probably going to find ourselves moving up into these two areas of supply just here above price. That would be a pretty cool place to have a closer look at for a short. We have a look on the longer term. You can see on the weekly chart. Okay, sorry, just my son just came home from school. So if we have a look here, you can see that price is kind of range bound for the time being on the longer term. If we clear all of this out, let's clear these off. Yeah, every time if you get a bunch of extra objects on there, you just change a time frame, and every time you do this, everything is deleted and then redrawn, and that will remove those rogue areas of accumulation and price imbalance bars. So if you have a look here, I mean, currently you ask yourself, is price in balance or out of balance? Well, it's currently out of balance, and the rebalancing will have taken place once it returns back to the source of one of these green candles. So you can see that price has already been back up to this level here. You can expect price to go at least to the 9800 area, and it's on its way. You can see that price rallied, we're accumulating, and this to me looks like an attempt to consume bearish liquidity up here and move higher, and then we'll probably move up into here. Also, I mean, if you look at this, we'll zoom in a little, we have some pretty clear trend line points like that. So if we manage to move up into something in here, then I think that might be an interesting place to start to look to sell. So if we zoom out and have a closer look, you can see that we do indeed have an area of supply, and it's right here. So we'll mark that one off. It's been tested once, and this is a second test, and price is having a bit of a reaction there. Go on the smaller time frame and see what happens. You can see we still have, I mean, pretty clear. If we use that channel tool again, we go from maybe from here to here. We can like connect the highs, something like that ish. No, we'll go like that. Nothing's perfect, and so now I'm kind of moving up into this area of supply just here. I don't like these channels, I'll just remove that. We do have this area of demand here. It's been tested once, so I'm thinking if price manages to break down, which it is doing, we have this area of demand here which has been taken out. This is probably an hourly demand, and now this is gone. Here we have the parent and the child. So the parent is here, tested once, twice, now we're moving higher. Got pretty far down into it. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we probably have some sellers looking to sell up at around this area here at the 9760-ish area. So if we keep around that, let's go to the smaller time frame and have a closer look and dissect it. So we'll remove those and we'll look. Okay, the most recent release is this one here. This is reacting to this, this is reacting to this, this is reacting to this. So of course, I mean, the fresh area is all the way at the top, but if we focus on what we can see here, we just have to find the one that's fresh for the current price imbalance, and this one is imbalanced. This area here is almost gone. Been tested once, twice, pretty close here, and so price is kind of wriggling higher for the time being. Let's have a look at some strength information. Just going to put this on. Let's give it a second to load. That was pretty good. So we have the dollar, Swiss franc. What's going on with these two? I'm going to throw the histogram on. Strength, histogram. Enable that. And you can see that if we see what's going on here, you can see that we have maybe a bit of a divergence going in here. So price, this is a good indication that price is probably going to wriggle a little bit higher. So dollar franc, we have the dollar here, we have the franc here, which is weaker than the dollar. We have a really strong dollar on the very small time frames and on the very big time frames. And you can see that, I mean, the dollar is clearly stronger than the Swiss franc on the longer time frame. If we have a look at that on the daily, you can see that that's pretty clear. Price is wriggling higher. So we can expect price longer term to continue to wriggle higher, but for short term trading, I think that we could consider a sell somewhere in here. We have a beautiful example of a divergence. Let's see if the indicator will grab that. Hopefully not. Yes, it has. Let me turn that off. I don't want it to do the trend lines because then it ruins those. So we go like this. So we can go from, we have this high, divergence, this high to this high. Where did it go? Where did it go here? We'll go like that. It doesn't want to play. So we have that. And so we want to find a place for price to react. So if you want to consider for a second, I mean, this is kind of pretty much gone. Price has gone pretty much through this little tiny area here. And then we have a price breaking down. It's moving lower. So you want price to you expect price to wriggle a little bit higher here. And so you could ask yourself how far in the curve. Well, the 50% is here at the top of this area of supply. Then we have the 79, which is just here. If we zoom into that, you can see that this is looks maybe pretty interesting, that area. I'll remove it. It goes just here, like so. So this looks pretty good because price left. It has not been back all the way. So this looks pretty interesting, I think. For the time being. We do have this little one here. We had a pretty strong release and move away from the area, so that might give us a bit of a challenge, but I'd be a little bit uncomfortable selling this because it's really low in the curve. So I like the fact that we have divergence, and this is pretty close to the top, and the good thing about this is we could put our stop in uncharted waters, which is towards the high and into that area of supply that we saw on the bigger time frame. And if you look below, I mean, where would you want to get out? Well, it's pretty clear. I mean, assuming that we would have got in here, so our entry would have been, our target would have been around here. Let's remove. That's a 12 pip stop, so a tiny one. And you can see we have a really nice area of opposing demand just here, just the bottom here. I like that very much. What's going on here? There's a lot of, let me remove some of these. We'll go like that. That's better. So we have this 13 pips, not so bad, pretty close to the 80 area, and an ultimate target could be down here. I like this one very much. When price comes down here, well, then you could look to get out of that trade and maybe consider buying. Because this is just a really nice release, pretty close to the big figure. So you would have some protection for your stop as well, because it would be on the other side of the big figure. But keep in mind that we do have currency strength divergence occurring, albeit on the 15-minute chart, it's still a divergence, but we'll have to wait and see. If you go to the hourly chart and have a look, you can see actually what we do have, and this is a pretty nice area to consider. Even on the hourly charts. We had a look on the 4 hour, see what it looks like, and it looks pretty good on the 4 hour as well. So this is a pretty decent area that we could consider to buy it at roughly the 9700 area. Again, supported by the greater period strength here. If we have a look on the daily chart, yeah, it's pretty close to this, you know, which is a very nice a nice release. We didn't go above this high here, but we did have a pretty good push high, so I'm expecting some kind of reaction at that area. Let's have a look where it's located. Yeah, this 9700 area. That'd be pretty interesting to have a closer look at there. Good. Okay, let's have a look at something that I'm working on at the moment. And after you've watched the video that I just put up there with the from FX Street, I'll show you what it is. And it's simply this Algo Trader. And so what I'm doing is I have the Algo Trader has the same parameters that we have in the supply and demand software, where we have the risk reward ratio and the price imbalance period. And then we have, of course, this number of periods until expiration. And then I'm simply using this to automatically put on trades for me. And so it's a very easy, see, this is a really lovely area, how price rallied, and when price left here, it pushed above all of this stuff here. So I'm just going to say auto trading on, and it's going to open that position for me. My stop's down here, and I think that's really interesting. And this is interesting because on the weekly chart we have market flow that's moving up. We have a very clear weekly trend higher. We're on the process of rebalancing this price imbalance here. So parity is here, and we are moving in the direction of rebalancing. So this is great. So we have thin liquidity here, thick liquidity here. And so I'm thinking that price will continue to wriggle higher from where we are now. And hopefully if price comes down to here, we'll get a pretty decent bounce and then a move higher. I really like this. This looks just fine, especially on the weekly chart. And so, I mean, this is what I've been doing. Well, I'll take these pairs one by one and I'll drag them over and say, well, what's going on? What do we have? I mean, that's not interesting for us there because we're moving higher. We are reacting at this, but this is pretty traded out, which I don't like. We go to the weekly chart, sorry, the daily chart, then we can see what's actually going on. You can see that we reacted to this, and now we're slowly breaking down on the 4-hour chart. What's going on? Well, we had this has already happened, so this trade has taken place, hence the dotted box. Yeah, so I'm just doing this really quickly now. So I'll start on the big time frame. These are more interesting. I'll go down, I'll find the one that's interesting. Price did not move below these, which is why I wouldn't take this. You probably could anyway, but I'm just saying. And now, so I'm just waiting for price. This is a pretty interesting area. It's been tested once on the release, but a phenomenal trade there. We have that, which is a bit of a small area. I wouldn't touch that. So I'm just going through these like so. This one is almost traded, but looks like price left. We might have another move down and test into there. And I like the fact when price left here, we managed to move through a lot of this micro supply. We do have this really nice area here. So we could see if the robot will find that for us if we force it to go. Maybe 10 bars back and start there. No, it didn't. It liked this one, and no wonder. I mean, that's a pretty nice area. So it liked this one here, and this is where we saw the reaction. Fair enough. So if we have a look here, we have that one, we have this one. Now just keep walking through these areas, sorry, these charts, and look for price to show us something that we like. So we have this one here, which is good. This was tested once, and on the second test we also reacted. So the robot would have opened it once, but not this time unless I would have told it to do so. And you can go down and see what's going on. And ideally, you want to be trading in the direction of the trend. And you can see most of these, the robot is drawing some levels, and most of them are holding. This one held, this one held. It's pretty phenomenal, and it's based exactly on the same stuff as the discretionary tools. This one held. This one probabilistically will likely hold, and so I'm just doing this, going on the big time frames. Generally 4-hour and higher is good. We have this one here, so I like this one, and so I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to put them both on because I want a sample size. So I'm going to say auto trade, and it's going to open both of those. This one here, this one here. That's going to come into fruition pretty soon. What I don't like about this is price has already been back down to this level here, which brings my attention to this, and so I might consider moving this down there. So I'll remove that. We'll probably get a bounce there. It normally does bounce. Yes, and so I'll have a look at some other ones, see what else we have. So we have this, not a very nice area. So I go to a different time frame until I find one I like. We've got two next to each other on the weekly chart. What do we have? This is great. 1, 2, 3. This would have been a fill, this trade here, because it would have been identified on 1, 2 on this, the close of this candle, the box would have been drawn. So then we could have bought at that area there, and that turned out very nicely. We have this tiny area here, which is uninteresting. Let's have a look on the monthly. We got this area just up here on the monthly, and I have this one as well here. The price didn't manage to get there, so it's been there for a while. We have so far it's a no fill, and we moved above this high, so I'm expecting price to continue moving higher until perhaps this up here. So if we go like, move this back, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we'll do maybe 13. Maybe we should move past there. Yeah, and so now I can say auto trade. It's a bit of a brute. And then I'm going to take the high one. I like that. It's just a bit clearer. So that looks pretty interesting there, as you can see. The really nice rally accumulation and then the push away. So that looks fine. So this is what it's doing. I mean, it's actually, I suppose you could call it a robot, but it's just opening the orders for me, which is very, very useful, of course. And we have this one here, which also looks pretty interesting. Price dropped. We came back almost to it, but we didn't manage. So I'm going to enable that trade. We're going to probably have to let it go for a few more periods. We'll do 21 periods. They don't expire. And I'm just going to allow that one. I'm going to let that one trade. We've got to find these really good areas that jump out at us. We have this one here. We got close to it. Price filled that one, and we had a huge drop off. I mean, look at this. Then we had on this trade here, we had 138, about 140 pip risk, and price went down, I mean, over 16, 17, 1800 pips. So phenomenal risk reward. If we go to the 4-hour chart, we can see what's above price. Do we have anything above price or below price? Yeah, we do. We have these here, and I like these both, as a matter of fact. I'm just going to take one. Which one? The one that's closest to price. So I'll just enable that, and it'll open it now. Matter of fact, it's probably going to have to put it on 2 because it's already got one open there. There it is. So we'll delete this one. It's a bit of a brutal tool, as you can see, because it's get very busy. But I like that one. I like the push away. Yeah, so I think that's fine for the time being. Of course, a lot of these orders are expiring, but when I have them, I can see weekly buy at, monthly buy, daily sell, daily buy, and so yeah. So I'm just looking for like a good sample size, and this is what I am seeing here by using this tool. And it's a phenomenal tool, and it's doing the exact same thing as if I go like this. Algo Trader. What I'm doing is I'm putting these side by side. Just give it a second. I'm putting these side by side. It's marking off the same areas. Here you can see it in supply and demand software. See the Algo Trader here, and you can see that we have the pound is stronger than the Aussie. Only just the pound is increasing. I mean, it's increased stronger, and the Aussie is kind of flat and going down. And so yeah, we can expect that maybe we'll have some kind of a bounce here. So this is kind of what I'm looking at in relation to the decision making. We're not actually seeing a lot of strength information here. This is just for the current time frame. So if you wanted to see more, then the most beneficial thing to do would be and we could put the histogram on there. So if we go like this, then we can see, yeah, I mean, very, very clear deviation in currency strength, how we have the pound is much stronger, and this is becoming very clear. Let's go like this. Here how we had divergence. Here you can see, so lower lows in price and higher highs in strength, so the pound is picking up, then a huge rip north, and we have this nice area here as well, which I like. And so yeah, we have a few things that we could consider here. So anyway, that's pretty much the Algo Trader in a nutshell. I'm just using it to find some really good parameters and values for the discretionary tools, but for the time being, the 3-to-3 setting that we're using is just a really good combination, these two here, and so I think you'll do just fine with that. Good. Well, I think I'll wrap it up with that. If you have any questions, please send them in, and thank you very much for watching.